Hello again, everybody. Good morning. So today I'm going to be finally recording the guitars. I didn't end up doing it last night. Kind of got a bit too late, didn't really feel it. So sometimes I feel it's for the best if you're not feeling something just to kind of sleep on it or lack of sleep thereof. My sleeping pattern has been totally whack lately. So yeah, I should probably look into that. So I've still got my isolation booth set up. Unfortunately, I had to get rid of the double amplifier system. It turns out there was a bit of an issue with my Pro Junior. It was getting a lot of static and noise coming through, so I swapped out the input tubes because I had some new ones, and yeah, that kind of made it worse, I think. So maybe I have to replace the output tubes. I turned it back on and there was just like the output tubes were flickering red hot and looked like there was just a lot of electricity going through it, so it kind of felt like it was a bit of a fire hazard. So I decided to get that out of the mix. So yeah, I'm just going to be using the DeVille. So I put the ribbon microphone onto the front of the DeVille and moved the condenser microphone back a little bit. So I tested it out. It still sounds pretty good. It was sounding really nice with two amplifiers, but yeah, that static and kind of buzzing was just too much, and it'd be too much to kind of take out. So yeah, first thing I'm going to do is set up my Ableton tracks. I think there's a few time signature changes and maybe a tempo change in this song. So yeah, I'll go through that now. So now we are in Ableton, and I'm going to start by setting up my file. So this is a brand new file. Get Ableton over here. So the first thing that I usually do is go to collect all and save. The reason why I do that is it automatically just packages everything into the one folder, which is handy when you're recording audio because sometimes it can lose the files and you don't want that. So you hit OK, that collects it all and saves it to where you've assigned the file to save to. The next thing I'm going to do is set up the MIDI map. So how I'm going to control the transport controls is through my machine MK3 set on MIDI mode. You can pretty much apply this to any kind of MIDI control or hardware that you have. It's the same principle. So I'm just going to go over to the top here, hit MIDI. Going to click on record first and then hit record on my machine micro, and that assigns it. Going to do the same thing for stop, same thing for play. Now for the tap tempo, I'm going to hit tap tempo on the micro, and that should be all that I need for now. Actually, you know what, maybe I'll just assign the metronome as well. I'll put that to follow grid for now. So they're all good to go. So now I can easily just tap and that record straight from the machine. I can stop it, I can play it, and I can set the tap tempo. As you can see, that kind of changing up here. So now to set the actual tempo, I just kind of think about the song, maybe hum it out and just kind of get it set up that way. Within this song, I think there are a few time signature changes and tempo changes, so I'll kind of go through later and kind of assign all that up properly. But first I'm just going to do it for the start part. So usually I just think about the song. So this one is like dun it, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Okay, so it's about 76, 78. I'm pretty OCD about this stuff and like things to be in even numbers, so I'm going to try it at 75 and then see how that sounds. Obviously I can change it whenever I need to. I can automatically change the tempo throughout the song as well. You can put your time signature changes just by right clicking on there. I think the tempo is actually in the master. Yeah, it's in there somewhere, so I'll play around with all that later. So yeah, now my file is ready to record, and it's just going to be way easier to use with the MIDI controller controlling all the transpose as opposed to just using the mouse and clicking it. It's just a way faster workflow. Right, so now let's put in some guitars. Okay, now my track is all, or my file is all ready to go and do some recording. So the first thing I'm going to do is record a guide track for the guitar. This is just a really kind of rough recording of the whole song, just so I can get all my time signatures and tempos and all that kind of figured out first. So what I usually do is I have a really basic drum loop here that I will record against, as opposed to just the microphone. So let's just have a really quick listen to that. So yeah, super basic just to keep everything in time. So I'll just keep that running. Next thing I'm going to do is just record the guitar. First thing you want to do obviously is make sure everything is in tune. So this, we want to activate the condenser first. So there's a bit of a buzz coming through. I'm not sure if that's from the amplifier or from the microphone. It's okay. It won't really matter once we record. So yeah, let's just double check. So this song is in C, so that's pretty good just for now. The guide track doesn't have to be perfect by any means. So yeah, let's quickly just do the first part. Okay, so that's the first part of the guide done. That's going to do for now. So I'm going to go through and record the rest of the guide track, get all my time signatures set up properly, and then go through there and record the proper guitars. So yeah, let's do that. So I've just recorded the guide track, the guide guitar track for this song. I set up all the tempo changes. I'll probably go through and set up all the time signature changes next. So it started off at 135 BPM, and then it jumps into a faster part in the middle, which goes up to 160. Then it kind of slides down at the end back into 135, so it's like a really slow transition to a bit more of a spacey, doomy type part at the end. So yeah, that worked out pretty well. So now what I'm going to do, instead of recording the proper guitars, I've decided that I'm just going to record the bass next. This song in particular, I think it really needs the bass in there to kind of drive it and kind of really fill out the note. So I really want that to inform the rest of the song. So it's possible once I record the bass, I might have to change how I play some of the guitar parts just so it's all really cohesive and as one. So yeah, I'm going to go and start to do that now. So how I'm going to record the bass is I'm just going to go straight into the cloud lifter and then out from the cloud lifter into the Audion ID4, and that should give me a really nice, strong, clear signal with lots of kind of space to work and get like a really good bass sound. So yeah, I think that's going to be kind of important for this one. So I'm just going to go and do that now. So I've just recorded the bass. It worked out pretty well. I had to kind of rewrite some parts as I was playing it because I forgot how to play it from how I did it last time, but that's okay. It kind of worked out pretty well. Sounded pretty nice through the cloud lifter, very clear. I've just put new strings onto it recently, and that kind of makes a pretty big difference, making it just like really clear and kind of snappy sounding. So yeah, bass is done. It's a pretty straightforward part. So the next thing that I'm going to do with the bass is actually run the bass out of Ableton through the Audient ID4 and run that out into the amplifier. This amplifier, it's all set up in my isolation booth, and run the bass through the DeVille. Yeah, it sounds kind of nice putting it under the straight DI. I'll run it through my pedals as well, maybe play around with that a little bit and see what kind of sounds we can get out of it. But I think probably for the bass, I'm probably going to get a lot of the effects from VSTs. Yeah, so before I run it through the amplifier, I just put like a really basic compressor on there just to kind of lift it all up a bit and kind of get it all on the same kind of level. So yeah, I'm going to do that now, and then after that I'm going to record the actual guitars. Then I can put my couch back together and watch TV. So I've just finished up recording the guitars. They're all done for now. I didn't get any knocks at the door, so that's good. I wrapped it up at 10, so I don't know. I try to be as considerate as I can, but you know, I've still got to get stuff done, so... Ooh, very sleepy boy. So what can you do? So next, I'm going to go through and try and clean them up because there's a lot of guitars going on. So I'm going to try and make some sense of it, get like a super rough mix just so I can work around it to record the rest of the songs, or the rest of the parts for the songs. And I'll go through the Ableton setup and kind of run you through some of the things that some of the effects and things that I used. Yeah, so it's working out pretty well. I decided to add in some more lead parts than I kind of expected, so sounding pretty good. Got some solos in there, which is always nice. So yeah, I'm going to clean it up and then we'll have a look through and see what I've got. So guitars are finished. That was an ordeal. As you can see, there's a lot going on. So it was a bit of a mission trying to organize everything, but I've got that sorted now. So I've just got it all kind of set up in the different parts of the song just to make it a bit easier as I'm going through later. Yeah, everything's kind of in its right place, if you can say. Kind of put into their sections and what they're kind of doing and how they're working with each other. So look, the idea for this song was to kind of create a bit of a wall of sound, so there is a lot going on, especially in the first part. So essentially all this top area here is all playing the same thing, but just laid up in different ways, so using different distortions, putting delay, putting reverb on things. And then we have the lead section over here, and that kind of follows through to the rest of the track. So yeah, there's a lot going on, but it's kind of organized chaos at this point, so that's really all you can ask for. So yeah, we'll just have a quick look through. So the first thing that I did once I grouped everything and organized with it, I just went through and just kind of cleaned up all the ends, making sure I wasn't getting any just kind of crackling from the amp and all that kind of stuff, kind of bringing different levels down, so it's all a bit cleaned up at the moment. Then after I did that, I went through and gain staged everything. So if you don't know about gain staging, this is a pretty new concept that I've started looking into, and it just makes a massive difference. So I won't go into it in too much detail, but essentially it's all based off old condensers and mixers, old analog equipment. So you want to bring it down to something that's called 0 VU is kind of the sweet spot. So yeah, there's a few different ways that you can do that. The way that I've been doing it recently, I found this plugin, this one right here called Hornet VU Meter Kit. And essentially it's like a bit of a magic tool that just automatically gain stages everything for you. So essentially what gain staging is, it just brings it down to a nice level so everything's not clipping. So yeah, and pretty much with this VST, you just chuck it on and hit auto and just run it through and it just automatically does it. And then to kind of get the best thing out of that, what I've been doing is freezing a track. So this one here has one on here, so it's frozen. So if I was to flatten that one now, this is my bass coming out of the amplifier. And then yeah, see how the levels just jumped right down? So now it's nowhere near as overwhelming. It splits it. It looks like it's a stereo track, but it is still a mono track because you got it coming through on both sides. So I mean, visually that kind of bothers me, but it's really not that big of a deal. So yeah, I just kind of went through and did that to all the guitars. So let's have a quick look at the intro and see what we've got going on here. So I think what else I did as well for this song, which I don't usually do, I organized the tracks through the microphone that they're coming through. So on this track in particular, the condenser gives it like it made it quite bright, but also added a lot of distance and kind of depth to it, which is going to work out to my advantage for this song. And the ribbon is obviously a lot duller and a lot closer. So just as a quick kind of listen, we'll have a look at this track here. So this is the ribbon, this is the fuzz, so this is going through the Anima pedal. So this is probably going to be like, so essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the cleaner distorted guitars kind of working together, get them at a really nice level, and then I'm just going to blend in all the reverb and delays underneath that. So it's just going to add like lots of depth to it. So yeah, so this one here, this is probably going to be my main one. So this is the ribbon microphone with the fuzz. Oh wait, that's the bass. Solo that track. So yeah, that one is quite deep and it's quite slow, so that one turned out really nicely. So I think that's probably going to be my, I guess, lead rhythm guitar. So, and then the same thing coming through the condenser. So you can kind of hear the difference. So yeah, that one's a lot brighter, and I guess you could say it's a lot fuller, but putting those two together, and obviously they're not mixed or anything yet, but they're going to work really well together. So let's have a quick listen. So yeah, those two together, they sound really full, really low, really crunchy. It's pretty much the sound that I was going for, so I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. And we'll just have a quick listen to maybe one underneath with the reverb. So what this is like a few different reverb takes going on. I don't remember exactly how I organized them, but it's essentially just the Revere with the space delay. So these are all the ones going through the condenser. So I'll just pop on the ribbons as well. Condenser. Oh, maybe they are all in there. I just need to. Yeah, okay. Yes, this is. I've just got to rename them. This is ribbon and condenser together. So yeah, with the reverb, they're sounding pretty huge. Yeah, so there's a lot of takes going on, but once I mix them in together, it's going to be cohesive. Obviously, it's not very uniformed yet. So yeah, that's what I did for the main guitars, and that kind of carries out throughout the rest of the song, throughout the middle section and then the end section and the very final section, same kind of style. But the one part that I'm really happy with is the lead at the intro. So I think this is probably going to be one of my favorite guitar parts throughout the whole album. It's really fun to play. I think it sounds pretty cool. So let's have a quick listen to all of that. So lead intro. So this is with everything going at once. So you got fuzz, reverb, the metal muff as well. Cool. So yeah, there's a lot of feedback going on at the end, which is intentional as it kind of leads into the next part. But as you can see, yeah, there's a few different takes, but they all kind of work together really well and kind of just give it a lot of depth as opposed to if it was just one kind of take. So yeah, every take with the ribbon and condenser is just one take and they're all just kind of melded together. So I think all up under that there's what, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe six times playing the same thing, so 12 in total. So six on ribbon, 6 for condenser. Yeah, look, I don't really think that there's too much more I need to say. I've got the bass. We'll have a quick listen. I'll just quickly show you the bass. So let's have a look at this section here. So this is the straight DI going through the cloud lifter. Cool, so that sounds really clean. And then I've got the reamp here. So when I ran it through the amplifier, so let's have a listen to this one. So this is the condenser and ribbon. So yeah, that sounds really full and a lot cleaner. Kind of got rid of a lot of the high ends of the bass, which I think it kind of needed. So once I meld those two together, it should be sounding really full and really nice. And the last thing that I did, I'll just quickly show you this. For the bass, I ran it through the reverb pedal. So I put the reverb up really heavy, so it's just going to sit underneath everything. So yeah, by itself, it's obviously not very clear, but once that's kind of sitting underneath everything, that's going to give it heaps of space. And the last thing that I did is this section here, through the middle part where it gets a lot heavier and a lot cleaner, I just ran it through the amplifier and then through some distortion. So let's have a listen to that. So yeah, that sounds really chunky. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. So yeah, look, there's going to be a lot of work mixing wise on this song, because there's a lot of different elements and a lot of things that are kind of working together that are just going to have to be cleaned up. But I knew what I was doing going into it, so I've got a pretty good vision of how I want it all to work in the end, so I think it should be okay. I always do this to myself. I record way too much and it gets really messy and I get really overwhelmed and spend so much time organizing and doing the admin side of things, so I just can't record one take of something. It's just, I don't know, I've just never been able to do that. And that's okay. Like, there's no right or wrong with this stuff. That is what works for me to get the sound that I want. Obviously, I create a lot more work for myself, but I think it's worth it in the end. So, look, there we go. Guitars are done. Sounding really cool. Really worked out how I wanted it to. So, yeah, that's it for guitars. What I'm probably going to do now is do some drums, and I'll go through how I do that in the next video. So yeah, guitars, I'm happy.